Let's talk about functions in R. A function is a block of code that performs a specific task. It takes input and returns an output. For example, the function C takes a sequence of data as input and returns a vector. The function min takes a vector of numeric values as input and outputs their mean. The function length here takes a vector as input and gives the number of elements in the vector. For matrices and arrays as well, it returns the total number of elements. If given a data frame, it gives the number of columns. And if given a list, it gives the number of components in the list. Now, many functions, including min, accept more than one argument. Yes, the first argument is usually the data input, but there are other arguments or settings or parameters that you can set in a function. For example, the min function has an important argument for handling missing data, which is typically denoted by NA. NA stands for not available. When NAs are present in the data, the min function would return NA unless you use the argument na.remove equals true to ignore all NAs. How would you know what arguments a function has? You can check in its help file by using the function help or a question mark followed by the function name. You can also search for it on the Help tab in RStudio. We can see that for the min function, the help file lists additional arguments that we haven't covered. You can find out what each argument does in the arguments section. The na.remove equals false here means that false is the default value. We can, but don't need to, specify arguments at default values. And that's why we didn't explicitly write na.remove equals false here. If we use arguments in the same order as listed in the help file, we can actually omit the argument names. This is why we could write min test scores instead of min x equals test scores, because x is the first argument. The value section typically describes the expected output, or returned value, of the function. Usually, there's also usage examples at the end of the help file. Other helpful resources include the user manual of packages, called a vignette, and the R community on forums like Stack Overflow. You can also define your own functions. Let's make a function that calculates the standard error of the mean, which isn't a built-in function in base R. You can assign the definition of your function to a variable. The variable name will become your function's name. Here I'm naming the function SEM. SEM equals function followed by parentheses. Inside the parentheses, list names of the arguments. Then the main body of the function code is to be enclosed in a pair of curly braces. It's common practice to divide the code over several lines, with the left brace at the end of the very first line. In the main body of the code, the arguments listed will be used like variables. In this case, I have an argument or variable named data, and I can use it inside the function SD, standard deviation, divided by the square root of sample size, which can be found by using the length function. Adding indentation here for better readability. By default, the function will return the result from the last line. To be more explicit, we can add the return line. We can add more functionalities here too. For example, we can add an option for handling missing data. I'll name the argument na.remove to be consistent with other functions like min and sd. True as the default value. Pass the variable na.remove to the sd function. Notice that the na.remove to the left is an argument of the sd function, and the na.remove to the right is my variable, which holds the value true by default. The user can specify na.remove equals false if they don't want to ignore any na values.